Hey there, welcome to my channel. My name is Jacqueline and I am an entrepreneur and business owner. I currently own and operate SeedX, which is a digital agency. We help a lot of different brands grow online through email marketing, advertising, etc. And I wanted to do a 7-day challenge as my first set of videos. And this challenge is really inspired by frustration that I have with the news and media and conversations that people have about women in business and being underrepresented in different industries. So my frustration really lies with the emphasis around career discussions for women really being about how underrepresented we are, our weaknesses, how disprivileged we've been historically. While I think it's really important to reflect on that, to talk about things like sexual abuse that we've encountered in the workplace and lack of opportunity and things like that, I think there's not enough stress put on how we can overcome it and how we can use our personal strengths to conquer the past, leave it in the past, it's history, and move forward together. So that's what I'm really hoping to highlight over the next 7 days. And I'm really excited to hear what you all think and if you agree with my opinions on what strengths women have that we should bring out. Okay, so today is day 1. It's June 13th. And so this is the first thing that I wanted to cover in thinking about women's strengths versus their weaknesses and how we can stand out in the business place in union and in differentiating ourselves from men. So the first thing, and I think that a lot of us sort of know this anecdotally, but I want to bring it to the forefront of your attention, is emotional intelligence. This is a huge strength that women have over men, and it's important because emotional intelligence is vital for the success of any organization, any project, and of course it varies between individuals. So there could be a man who's more emotionally intelligent than a woman, of course, but just as sort of on a population level, women tend to be more emotionally intelligent, and it's something I think that you should reflect on, and whether you're a man or a woman, and think about how you might be stronger in that area or weaker and how you can make that work for you. So I recently read a study that in a study with over 55,000 professionals from 90 countries around the world, women outperformed men in 11 out of 12 categories of emotional intelligence. So at the end of the video, I'll mention what the one category that women did not outperform men in was, because I think it's important to analyze that as well. But it's really important to realize that some of these strengths came in being more inspirational leaders and coaches, having a greater ability to empathize with both coworkers and clients, having a greater, almost every single time, ability to read people's emotions, and the ability to adapt to new emotional situations. So let's just talk about these. Being an inspirational leader and coach, that's so important for multiple reasons. It means that as women, we're great mentors because we can empathize with where people are, what their struggles are, etc. And it also means that we're great leaders in the office space. So we have the power to inspire men, women, people of any gender, really, to want to accomplish more and to accomplish their goals and dreams. So I think that's something you should really feel empowered by and lean into. And it's because you're able to understand someone's emotional capacities and what they're worried about and happy about, and really bring that out for them. That's what I think makes us really strong leaders. The second thing is the ability to empathize with coworkers and clients. So I think a lot of times I've seen this in the workplace where we'll have a little scuffle with a client or on our team. People's egos are getting in the way, someone's confused, they just need to be talked down, understood, feel like they're being understood, etc. And I think that women are really good at that conflict management. So, whenever there's a conflict with a client, I often feel like I step in and talk with my male coworkers and say, like, okay, this is how we should handle it. This is probably how they're feeling. And understand that a lot of the time there's emotional underpinnings to anything that anyone is feeling. So women really bring that advantage to the table in terms of emotional intelligence. And then I want to get back to reading people's emotions because I think this is super important. But so the next thing is adapting to new situations emotionally. So women are really great at adapting to new situations. If something new comes up, usually they're able to really quickly, shift their emotions. Men struggle more with this for some reason. I don't know if you've ever experienced this in your daily life, but I feel like with men that I've had in my life, if we change a plan suddenly, it can really baffle them for some reason, whereas I think women are much more sort of in the flow of things. And if something changes, like if you need to make a stop at a store or address something really quickly, it doesn't really throw us off as much, which is important. And I think we can also see when a man is being frustrated by a change of plans and help read that, acknowledge that, and help them sort of figure out how to calm down. It's all about the team effort, And the last thing I wanted to get to here is reading people's emotions. I think this is so important because, well, for so many reasons, but I really want to connect it to what I usually do in my daily life, which is sales and marketing. With sales, I really believe that as you grow your confidence and your voice as a woman, you can really annihilate male competition in terms of sales, because when you're on the phone with someone as a woman, or when you're even meeting with them in person, as long as you feel confident and you don't feel intimidated, typically we're able to really understand where someone's coming from. So we can tell if they're nervous, why they're potentially nervous. If you're selling them a product, you can sort of get a gauge on what they're interested in, what they're not interested in, what fears they might have, what could be holding them back, etc. Much more intuitively than your male counterparts can. Typically, men rely more on sort of like force selling. So, like, you need this, you need this, you need this. This is why, this is why, this is why. Whereas I feel like I come in and I say, okay, well, how are you feeling about, it's so stereotypical, but just bear with me. It's like coming in and saying, how are you feeling about this decision? What do you eventually want to accomplish? Are you worried about this? Asking questions, really getting to know their emotional state, and then helping elevate them and empower them to see your product or your service as the solution to those different concerns that they have. I feel like it's something that women are really have a much easier time doing, guiding people through those feelings, whether, no matter what gender the person you're speaking to is. And I also think that both men and women and people of all genders are open to women sort of asking those more personal questions, or they're more used to it. So I think it gives us a really big differentiator in sales and marketing. It just gives us more insight into the way that people like to be sold to. It's not as much about selling as it is about empowering them and making sure that you're addressing all of their concerns. And it differentiates us when, if someone talks to 5 digital agencies, for example, from my perspective, and 4 of the salespeople are usually men, and I'm the one woman, and I come from a more understanding perspective, whereas the men are typically trying to sell their service, just really straightforward. It'll help you stand out, and as long as you have the skill level to match it, not only are you skilled, but you're perceptive as well. So now for the sad news, but I also just want you listening at home, women, men, everyone, to realize that we all have strengths and weaknesses, and it's important to look at them objectively. So the one category where women failed in comparison to men was in being able to handle emotional pressure. So that's being made fun of or pushed on, sort of holding your own when there's pressure or when someone is being a jerk. And here's my thought on that. So I don't think that necessarily women are better or worse at this, or men are better or worse. I think that men are more used to being made fun of, picked at, yelled at by other men aggressively, honestly. And as women, we're taught to be, more delicate and fragile from the moment we're born, essentially. So whereas women probably get baffled, we might start crying because it's just we're not used to it. And I used to have this problem too, and I'm happy to admit it. Other men will respond with aggression or just match that person's tone. And so I think it's important for us to, as women, understand that might be something that we run into working in the world with, people who are aggressive, both men and women, and people of all sorts who just make us feel little. It's important to build up, enough courage to, at least in the moment, come back confidently. Maybe then you go home and you feel like crap and you allow yourself to, but that's a skill that we have to build up. And I think on the male perspective, which I'll talk about in a future video, men tend to be more aggressive, so I think men have the opposite problem where they need to learn how to stay calm and cool and collected in those situations and not go too much above the top where they're, being way too aggressive. So, the point is, it's important to look at our weaknesses too, and to realize that these all have 2 sides, and to think about, how we can best work out there in the world, all genders together, and make sure that we're making forward progress. So I hope that was helpful. It's my first time doing a video like this, so if you have anything to say, any comments, if you disagree or agree, if you've experienced this in your own workplace, I'd love to hear from you. So comment below, and I will see you tomorrow for the next one.